What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the More Than Love podcast. I'm your host, Terry Duran. I got my man, Jay Bavo, with me. What's going on, Jay?
Not much, Ted. Looking forward to once again another great topic for tonight.
Yeah, man. Tonight we really have an interesting topic. Tonight we'll be talking about poly what. We'll be doing an in-depth look at polyamorous relationships. So I have a real interesting guest that'll be coming on a little bit later to share her perspective on her relationship and the counseling and the advice she gives to other couples that are transitioning to become polyamorous. So I'm looking forward to my interview with her. But before we get into that, I want to send a special shout out to the homie Brother Soul Production for keeping us laced with the audio background music for the whole year. And we like to start off the podcast with the segment that we call Terry's Top 3, where we basically highlight or discuss 3 of the most interesting topics from my Instagram page at Terry Duran. So to the first post that we're going to be talking about this week, it was a post that I put up, and it said, a couple has been casually dating for about 2 months. The guy decides to buy her a bracelet for Christmas. The woman responds negatively and tells him that's not what I really wanted. Does her response warrant him cutting her off, or should he continue to date her? Now, this post got the comments really riled up. You know, there were a lot of women that were angry at the woman's ungrateful response. You know what I'm saying? Like, there were a lot of guys talking about, that they would cut the woman off or whatnot. I personally feel like if I can't date a materialistic person. So if I did do something kind or bought a woman a gift and she responded in a negative, ungrateful way, that would be, I wouldn't necessarily cut her off per se. Like, I wouldn't fuck her anymore or wouldn't hang out, but I definitely would not be seriously pursuing a relationship with her. So I don't necessarily feel it's a cut off move, but it will prevent you from getting wiped up or ever becoming my girlfriend. What you think, Jake?
I definitely agree. I mean, but I think this person, you probably knew she was materialistic way before, you decided to buy her a gift for Christmas. I'm sure signs were there that she's a very materialistic person.
Yeah, you can typically pick up on those type of things, like what they say, what they priorities are, the things that they value. You'll hear them talk about a specific purse or a specific set of shoes. Like, that's cool. Some people can rock like that, but to me, I don't see how you can have a meaningful relationship with somebody that places so much value on material things. So
right.
that
I mean, even if you do, it's a relationship that's based on what you can do for her, based on getting her all these superficial things. So I mean, once that dries up, then it's like, what do you really have?
Very true. Like I said, some people are able to make it work. I don't know if they're necessarily happy or not, but I just think it would be more difficult to find a healthy space with somebody that is concerned with how much you spent on them or how lavish your gift is or whatnot, and having a negative reaction to you doing something positive for them. Because even if somebody bought me something and it ain't necessarily what I really wanted, I'd be grateful the fact that you spent your money on me or you went out your way to get me something. You know what I mean? And I think that's the expectation, even if it's something that you didn't really want. Somebody that you only been kicking it with for a couple of months, taking the time to get you a gift, that's something that you should respond in a positive manner, even if it's not what you the gift that you particularly wanted. I don't really personally think you should expect a gift from somebody you only been kicking it with for 2 months.
Exactly.
Let's see. The next post that I wanted to talk about. Now, this went really viral. It got sent to me by a couple of different people. This is a post. It says, "Why can't all men be this honest?" And it's a screenshot of a text message that says, "May, honestly, I don't see a future with you. I don't want to waste your time and make you believe we're going to be something when we're not." And so a response says, "This shit hurts, but it's better than being led on, so it's respectable." Now, I don't think most guys would send a message like that to a woman. Even if they were dating or kicking it with a woman and did not want to pursue a relationship with her. And part of the reason is because most guys don't view just casually dating a woman as wasting time. The dating process gives you the opportunity to figure out if you're actually compatible with somebody or not. So you're not necessarily wasting time. This sounds like the kind of message that a guy would send when he's done with a chick. You know what I'm saying? Like when he's trying to cut her off and trying to do it in a nice way to avoid drama or whatnot. But I don't see this being something that most guys would send, and I don't see it being something that most women would just have "oh, I respect you so much" type of response to it.
Exactly. Yeah, I definitely don't see it. Well, I don't see a woman taking that too well at all for the most part. I mean, some might. There probably is, but I think most is just not gonna receive that too well there.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you having sex with her. You know what I mean? Like, right. So it's great that on the post, this woman, you know, took it on the chin and didn't respond negatively. But whenever a man doesn't want a particular woman or doesn't prefer a certain type of woman, it's usually met with hostility, negativity, or some type of shaming tactic or whatnot to try to make it like the man's the problem for not seeing her value or not wanting to be with that particular woman. So I definitely don't think this type of rejection, you know, something that we know women are adamantly trying to avoid with their dating strategies. I don't think this direct rejection would be well received by most women.
Right. I mean, I don't think women don't like rejection at all. When it comes to dating, sex, I mean, you name it, women usually don't take rejection too well there.
Yeah, and there were some people that were saying like this sounds like a guy responding to the "what are we" or "where is this headed" type of question. Like he got probed into responding that way, and I can see that. I can see.
Yeah, I can see that as well. She, like you said, it's probably a regular conversation. She just kind of crowbarred that into there.
Yeah, you know, you get those kind of situations where it's like, well, where are we headed? Because I'm not just gonna keep fucking my friend, and you know what I'm saying. Like you get this kind of ultimatum where they put a fork in the road and they want you to predict the future or tell them basically that you want to be with them or confirm that y'all are gonna end up being together. So, like I said, this sounds like a situation where a dude has decided that he's willing to just let everything go because it's hard to picture things being cordial or flowing smoothly with the woman after something like this. Let's see. The last post that I wanted to talk about. This is a post that I put up. It said, "It's crazy to see how many women would rather give up on dating altogether instead of simply making adjustments to how they approach dating and how they evaluate men." And I put that up because I see women vow that, that they're done with dating, that they're completely done with men. You see that's why I haven't dated in 3 years, and that's why I haven't dated this long. And it's like, well, dating ain't necessarily the problem. It's your approach to dating. I want guarantees, I want assurances, I want a man to tell me what's gonna happen. I'm going into dating trying to guarantee a committed relationship. Those type of strategies combined with their failure to effectively evaluate men. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like you don't need to quit dating. You just need to tinker and tweak with.
I think those are like the premise of the post here. I mean, those are all good points and fair points at that. It's just only women say that I had a bad experience in this situation, or I had a bad breakup with a boyfriend, so I'm not gonna date. I'm not dating for 2 years. I'm gonna be celibate. And I never understand the logic behind it. You know what I'm saying? Like for men don't say, okay, well, I had a bad experience with this woman, so I'm gonna stop dating for 2 years. I'm gonna stop having sex. It doesn't make much sense. But like you said, women should. I think the best thing in those situations is when you think it from a practical, a pragmatic perspective, is okay. Look back, reflect, and see what you did wrong, and maybe make adjustments to your dating strategies. But I think a lot of women don't do it, and a lot of women don't want to hear what they did wrong in those relationships.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of times that means taking accountability. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. That when you do that reflection, you have to look at your decision makings, how you could have contributed to the downfall of the dating situation, and that's what a lot of women don't do. Because if they simply adjusted their approach, they would find themselves in less relationships with men where they're not actually compatible.
Right.
If they didn't press to get a committed relationship and just enjoy the dating experience, they would enjoy dating a lot more. They wouldn't place so many expectations on dating or sex, etc. So it's a lot of these things that lead to the self-inflicted wounds that I'm constantly talking about. You hurt yourself by setting a mountain of expectation that turned into disappointment when they didn't come true. You assumed that because you had sex, it was going to lead to X, Y, and Z. And when it doesn't, now you hurt, you upset, you feel some type of way. And I think it's just those type of things that only the woman herself can adjust.
Right, but I think what happens to it, like we spoke about this on 100 shows here, but even like a time guys just listen, I'm not looking for anything right now, I'm not looking for a committed relationship, and about a good number of women say okay, they're okay with it, and then months down the line, 5-6 months down the line, they're trying to crowbar something out of it.
Yeah,
or trying to Trojan horse something into that situation.
Yeah, I mean, and I think guys experience this all the time. That's the reason they give women these kind of disclaimers. Don't catch feelings, so like they give all these kind of, let's take things slow, let's take it, like let's go with the flow. Like they give these disclaimers because they've experienced women that go way too fast, that try to rush things, that try to get in a committed relationship before you even figure out if the person you kicking it with is worth dating or worth being in a relationship with. I think the guys that experience success don't do that. They take their time evaluating women and making the decision on whether or not they're willing and able to commit to a particular woman. Now, that don't necessarily mean that it's going to automatically lead to dating success or that's going to guarantee, a successful relationship. But I think you have a much better chance of success if you actually take the time and make sure y'all are compatible on the things that are important. Instead of going off of oh, he's cute, oh, I had fun on the first date, now we want to be together. Like that to me, that's the kind of thinking and behavior that enables fuckboys.
But I think a lot of it, I think it's based on a euphoria, because a lot of times when a woman first meet somebody that they might be somewhat attracted or they like, they go into a lot of them go into a euphoric state. So basically, they project a lot of their fantasies on what they want to got onto that guy.
Yeah.
And not even seeing if they're compatible or not, and at least not till after the fact.
Yeah, and that's where you get a large percentage of the heartbreak or the disappointment that leads to this I'm done with dating type of attitude. I think there's a very good reason that you don't see men doing that very often. I don't know any men personally that just vowed to give up on sex, dating, and relationships because of their bad experiences. They may alter the type of woman that they pursue or the type of things that they accept or don't accept, but they're definitely not just giving up on dating altogether. Because in general, meeting new people and going from being strangers to romantically involved is always a pleasant thing for guys, even if it doesn't develop into a relationship or we don't fall in love, etc. Like, to go from the fact that we didn't know each other and we end up having sex a couple of times, that's seen as a dub. That's a win for a lot of guys. Based on the way that they view dating and they view the way that they feel about casual sex and casual dating. Let's keep things moving. Today, our trending topic. This is the New Year's coming up, and so we're starting to see those who I'm cutting off in 2020 memes, right?
New year, new me.
Yeah, new year, new me. I'm walking out the door on these type of people, and these are the people I'm cutting off, all that. And I think that I get it. I understand that people want to grow and people want to make changes in 2020. But if somebody's really bad for you or really toxic for your relationship, you don't have to cut them off on New Year's Day. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's something that you should be able to do at any point in the year once you establish that you don't want to be involved with that person. So I don't think that those things should necessarily be tied to New Year's Day, because the date on the calendar that you choose to stop messing with somebody, that really has nothing to do with your actual interactions with that person. And so if you're going to adjust your dating strategies and move different going into 2020, that don't need to be put on a I'm cutting people off proclamation. You know what I mean? Like that's something that's very different, because some of those people that you're talking about could want to cut you off. You know what I'm saying? Like the same people that are posting these memes could be the same type of people that other people are planning to cut off in their mind. You know what I mean? Like, so to me, it's just like it's flexing for the gram for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, if you're gonna cut people off, just cut them off. There's no need to make an announcement of who you cutting off and what you. I don't mean what
that's just like the I'm about to unfollow you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
just unfollow me then.
Right, I would have never known you unfollowed me because I was not checking for it. So, and it's the same thing. Like, if you gotta put up a post to announce that you cutting people off, like, are you really about that life? You know what I'm saying? Or are you just doing that?
Probably. I think a lot of times people say these things because, it sounds cool, it's trendy. That's the thing people are saying nowadays. Because a lot of times when people say they're going to do X, Y, and Z in 2020, usually never do it.
Yeah, it's usually met with a lot of procrastination, a lot of people backslide into their old habits, etc. And so that's why the whole New Year's resolutions, all these type of things, that don't really matter. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
When I made the decision that I was going to start actively working out to try to change my shape and get back to my, college size, I did it in February. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't have to wait till January 1st to make some type of proclamation. It's something that when you're serious about making change in your life, you can implement it no matter what. You can start tomorrow. You can start on a weekend. It does not have to be a New Year's Day type of situation for you to make changes if that's what you're serious about. And so I always laugh whenever I see, because you know what to expect. New year, new me.
Right.
There's that one meme that's been going viral the past couple years with the woman walking up the steps. You know what I'm saying? And showing the stuff.
That's about it. Yeah, that's that. I think that was that one started a few years ago.
Right, and
almost about 5 years ago.
It's the same thing. I'm leaving disloyalty. I'm leaving it. It's like, man, you are.
Yeah.
It sounds good. It creates a temporary feeling, but it doesn't really represent what actually happens for a lot of people.
Right, exactly. Listen, if I'm going to cut somebody off or do this, X, Y, and Z, and listen, I'm not waiting until January 1st. It'll happen in
whenever.
June, July, August, September, whenever, like you said.
Whenever you gather that information that's what's in your best interest, that's when it should happen. It should not have to wait until New Year's. You know what I mean? But let's keep things moving. We're about to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have our guest on the evening on to talk about polyamorous relationships. So you're listening to the More Than Love podcast. We'll take a quick break. Thanks for tuning in. You have everything it takes to become an effective dater. I've simplified the entire process for you. All you need to do is make some adjustments to your approach to learn how you're supposed to date by downloading the Terry Duran Dating Compatibility Guide. It's available for only $1.50 exclusively at terryduranbooks.com. Welcome back. You're listening to the More Than Love podcast. I have my guest for the evening on the line. I am on the phone with Kenya Stevens. She's the CEO of Progressive Love Academy. How you doing, Kenya?
I'm very well. And yourself?
I'm doing all right. I really appreciate that you taking the time to coordinate with me and come on my podcast. Your situation is extremely interesting. That's why I reached out to you about coming on. But just a few minutes ago, I realized it's more intricate than I even thought. So can you let the audience know about what you do and we'll get into the topic for the night?
Sure. I am a polyamorous love coach, so I support couples who have been married 10 years or more and have children in transitioning from monogamy to polyamory. It takes time. It could take years very often, but I support couples who would like to do so in doing that. We've done this for the past 15 years. My husband and I have been married 24 years, and I have a second husband who I've been with for 7 years. So we all live together, and we enjoy polyamory and the open lifestyle very much.
Okay, a question. You're going to have to school me. there. What's the difference between polyamorous and polygamy?
Okay, polygamy is more like there can be a man and he can have several women, but those women are not allowed to have outside partnerships.
Okay.
In polyamory, both men and women can have outside partnerships even though they're mated together.
Okay, and so you said you have two husbands. Do your husbands have other women?
Oh, yes, they both have several other partners.
Okay.
They love that too, yes.
Okay, so when you hear about a situation like this, how do you establish what the rules are, or how the rules of engagement? How does that work?
Well, here at Progressive Love Academy, we support people in formulating their contracts. In terms of our contract, it's very simple, and we only have 4 rules, and that is no shame and no blame, no victims and no villains, no cop-outs and no dropouts, and the purpose is growth. Very simple protocols. We don't even call them rules. We call them principles.
Okay, so this is a real. I would imagine a situation like this requires more trust than a traditional relationship. Would you say?
I think it requires trust, where traditional relationships do not cultivate trust. You know, trust means I trust the universe. I trust that all experiences will grow me, that everything is well, that, you know, all of my experiences are purposeful. So that is trust. Traditional relationships believe trust means you won't ever do anything to hurt me. And that's a ridiculous form of trust, because we all hurt each other inadvertently from time to time.
Very true. Yeah, see, I find myself on my page trying to explain love from a male perspective. And I think just love, the feeling that you have when you feel that way for someone else, it causes you to do things for them that you would not do for other people, or that you wouldn't do for people that weren't your loved ones. And you put up with things that you wouldn't put up with others. But there seems to be a large percentage of people that think if you love somebody, you won't think about another person, you won't desire another person, etc. What do you say to people that have that type of mindset?
Well, I just say that they've been conditioned by Western culture or by religious culture, and it's just not true. Humans are not a monogamous species. Monogamous species only have sex when the female is in her fertile period. For human females, that's 5 days a month. So if we were a monogamous species, we'd only be having sex when the females are in her fertile period, 5 days a month. You know, there are a lot of attributes that go along with monogamous a species, and the humans are not one. So we're a very communal and social species, and we're a very promiscuous species. So it's not natural for a human not to have attractions outside of marriage. It just doesn't work. It's never been the case. That's why porn is the #1 industry on the planet.
Okay, I did not know that. I wanted to ask you, okay, so from a male and female perspective, a lot of women, even single women, they choose to be monogamous with one man. They have the opportunity to have random sex or get dick on demand, and they choose not to. There's the belief that sex is something that is more desired or more requested by men, or being with other people is something that men care more about. What do you see on your end of the spectrum?
Oh no, that's just another fallacy of Western culture. If I walk outside right now and ask 100 men to sleep with me, 90 would say yes. Women have a higher sex drive or sex desire than men on average. And what we're talking about here is the access. Women have access to as many men as we desire. It's just that in our culture, it's said that that's nasty, dirty, slutty, so we try to stay away from that in order to remain a marriage material. But other than that, it's just a fallacy of the Western mind. It's not true.
Okay. Because from a male perspective, there's a lot of conflict. Like when it comes to like casual dating, women will say they cool with sleeping around or having sex, but as soon as you start having sex or getting romantically involved, now they feel threatened by other women. Now they, have an issue and they're questioning you about what you're doing. And so it creates like it makes men wonder, like, why can't women just be cool with how things are? Like, I guess you're pointing out it's a cultural thing and
Yes.
society places that kind of mind frame. Uh,
Yeah, it's a stigma. It's a stigma that unfortunately girls learn very young that, they will lose self-respect. They will grow up and be a spinster. Nobody will want to marry them if they're naturally their sexual self. And so that undermines a woman's natural sexuality, and it causes health problems in women. So we don't want to continue along these lines. And it also reduces the amount of sex that men can have. And then you have everybody walking around angry, upset, So why limit the number of men that women can sleep with via a stigma if we're going to be angry and upset about we're not getting any sex? I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
yeah, I find that that comes up whenever I talk about body counts. People make a real big deal about the number of people you've been with and your body count and all this type of stuff. And I'm always pointing out, like, I think that's one of the most overrated aspects of dating. People place so much weight on how many. First of all, you don't even get an accurate number. You know what I mean?
No,
Like, so
never.
to use something that you can't prove or verify is stupid to me. But there are
Right.
lots of people that use their assumption about your number or what they think your number is to determine whether you dateable or not. And it's like that's so illogical to me.
Well, it's logical if you think of the insecurity that causes one to ask that question. So if I'm insecure about my sexual performance, of course I want to know, hey, how many have you tried out? And, will my sexual performance measure up? Because if you've been with 100 people, then I may not be as good as those people. Most men feel that they need to be the best. And there is no the best. Every sexual object experience I've had, which is over 200, would be all different. None of them are the best or the worst. They were all different.
Those are
And
200 different people?
me? My gosh, yes, I'm 45 years old. I mean,
Wow.
give me another 100 before I leave the earth. Give me two. I mean, come on. I don't have a sexual shame or a stigma. I think sex is delicious and delightful and healing and necessary for my life, necessary for my creativity, and necessary for my spirituality. So I don't know where everybody is getting off on this.
Wow.
Concept.
So can I ask, where are you originally from? And how
I'm
did
from
you
Detroit. I'm from Detroit, Michigan.
Okay, I've worked in a before. How did you avoid the cultural socialization or how did give me a timeline? How did you get into the polyamorous lifestyle?
Well, I think the timeline has to start at age 11 when I started questioning my parents' Christian faith. And my dad was not a Christian and my mom was. So I had the opportunity to stay home with my dad. And he read me Shakespeare and Khalil Gibran and let me listen to jazz and into Stevie Wonder and all types of music. And, that type of upbringing where I didn't have to go to church. And I could stay home and be schooled on alternative principles and values and more African-centered teachings. It helped me understand that this is just a Western cultural or European cultural idea that sex is dirty and sex is bad. That's never been an African cultural idea.
Okay, that's interesting. I don't, like you said, a lot of people are insecure when it comes to their spouses and relationships, etc. And there is this belief that your partner having sex with someone else or enjoying something with something else is the worst thing that could ever happen. And I'm of the belief that it's the lies and deception that go along with cheating that is ultimately what ends up destroying the trust in the relationship.
Yes. In our culture, it is the worst thing that can happen because divorces ensue after your partner is with somebody else. Security is gone. You don't have your family anymore. So yes, here it is the case. But when my husband and I first started talking about polyamory, it was a year before we got married. And he said to me that he might want to take a second wife. And I said I was fine with that because I had grown up outside of the ideology of Christianity. And I thought it was fine for him to have a second wife. So by the time we came to year 11 or 12 and he was meeting people that he wanted to be with, I said, okay, well, I'm still cool with that, but I also want somebody else. If you're going to have an outside partner, I would like an outside partner too.
Okay.
And so we didn't know what that was called, and he disagreed with it. But we took 2 years, we talked about it, and finally he thought, of course, you want the same thing I do. Let's do it.
Okay, so with the outside people, is it flings, or is it really focused on serious relationships?
Well, for us, it's serious relationships. Now, there is a swinging culture wherein you don't have serious relationships, you just have sex outside of your marriage. But for us, being in polyamory, we have serious relationships outside of our primary relationship. So as I said, my second husband lives with me, and so does his son. So I'm raising the son of another man as well. He's raising our children with us. And we've had women live here as well. So, yes.
So does jealousy and envy become an issue?
Oh my gosh, yes. Every single day. But again, we look at the purpose of relationships as being growth, growth. So we support our clients and we support our partners in really taking that jealousy and working it out and understanding what you want. Jealousy means I want something. Well, what do you want? And let's get it.
Okay, now I see a lot of people, like when I on my page we talk about cheating a lot, and when women will say things like, well, why didn't you tell her you before you cheated? And it's like a man coming to a woman in our culture and saying, hey man, I just want to smash my coworker, I just want to do this. That creates insecurity and drama, you know what I mean? Like, so
right.
How do you get people that are married to have this conversation about bringing other relationships into the fold? How does that happen?
Well, it happens with very mature and very metaphysically focused people. You know, my clients are people who, you know, they do yoga, they study meditation, they are into spiritual growth and development and personal growth. This is not just the average run-of-the-mill guy who wants to cheat because he doesn't want to tell his wife. The only reason he doesn't want to tell his wife because he doesn't want his wife to do the same thing. So, you know, we don't usually deal with couples like that. We deal with couples who are ready for equality, ready for mutuality, ready to really evolve. So that's where we divide, you know, our clientele from those who just are not ready for polyamory.
Okay. So, generally speaking, what would you say the percentage of the population that participates in polyamorous relationships? Are there any stats or numbers you got on that?
Well, right now they say 1 in 5.
What?
So, but you have to remember this, beloved. 66% of those married today are dealing with adulterous affairs. 40% of those married today are in a completely sexless marriage.
What?
Okay, so we have a very serious, yes, this is Pamela Hagg, you can Google it.
Oh
Pamela
my God.
Hagg wrote this book and talks about the stats. Marriage is a failure. It's a failing system. So if we don't creatively come up with the next version of what marriage looks like, you're just going down the road to that end. 66% of those married today are dealing with adultery.
So, okay, outside of the sexual aspects of it, the other things that come with marriage and relationships, the finances, how does that work? If you have multiple spouses, how finances, does everybody just pool? And like, it's hard to kind of wrap my head around that kind of scenario.
Each couple is different. So I have very high-end wealthy couples, celebrity couples, all the way down to average run-of-the-mill middle-class couples. And so it depends on how you set up your contract. The way my two husbands and myself do it is we combined our finances. So we are working together as a unit, which makes things much easier. However, it depends on what the couple wants and how you draw up that contract, which is what I support my clients with.
So this contract, what are the penalties if somebody breaks the contract?
Well, there's really not a breaking of a contract. If a person is not able to perform the protocols of the contract, we need to revisit the protocol. Protocols are not things or demands. Okay. Protocols are things that people say, wow, I would like to do this. I would like to grow in this way. They're
Okay.
never about, you have to do this because this is what I said. That's not a contract. That's not a rule. We don't do rules like that.
So it's more just like a written, written expectation.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it's determined by what the person wants to do, not what we need you to do because we gonna be mad if you don't do this. That doesn't work ever. So we really carefully craft that contract for each couple.
Okay. In a situation where one spouse has outside partners and the other spouse chooses not to, does that create resentment, or is that a sustainable situation, do you think?
It's very sustainable if that's an authentic desire. Usually that's not an authentic desire. Usually that's a fear-based desire. So if I'm saying, well, I don't want anybody else and my partner's going to be open, typically I'm not really digging down to my core because one person was never meant to satisfy all of another person's needs. So there's some needs that you may want to play chess, you may want to go skiing, something that your partner doesn't want to do. And now you have the opportunity to go skiing and play chess with somebody else, even if there's no sex involved. So polyamory just isn't about sex, it's about socialization, it's about connection, it's about friendship, it's about emotional support that you may not be getting from your partner. Do you understand?
Yeah, yeah. That's. I mean, you don't think about those other aspects. Those are the things that cause you to catch feelings and it eventually lead to sex. But that aspect of dating is kind of overlooked.
Yes.
The differences in just the things you like, your level of compatibility, your interest levels, all those type of things. I can relate to it because I just relate it to my single life. Being a man that's juggling multiple women, I didn't love all of them. I want to be with all of them, but it was more than just a random sex. I was sleeping with them on a consistent basis, so I knew what was going on with their lives. I would help with stuff so I can definitely visualize what that's like from being a bachelor.
Sure.
So it makes a lot of sense, and I think when you're involved with multiple people like that, it helps you refine your social skill.
Absolutely.
You,
yes. Yes. Osho says variety breeds intelligence. And for me, I learned something new from all of my different partners. I get to be somebody new with each of my different partners. You understand? And that is, for me, self-exploration to its max and self-reflection to its max. And learning to get along with various people rather than forcing. I used to want to force my husband. We were monogamous for 12 years. I wanted to force him to have sex when I wanted sex. I wanted to force him to like the things that I want to do. I want to go on a cruise. He hates the ocean. Oh, well, you gonna come with me anyway? It's just too much. It's like squeezing juice from a rock, and it can kill your relationship.
Yeah.
Instead of just spreading out your desires and needs, even if I never have sex outside my marriage, my husband would be okay for me having a man who goes on a cruise with me, or a man who wants to do some of the things I want to do that he don't want to do. So that's it.
Yeah, that's the. I don't think that's a level of security that most people will reach. The fear,
they'd rather suffer in a scenario where they just cannot squeeze this out of their partner.
I think a lot of guys are hypocritical when it comes to that. It's okay for them to have a side chick, but they couldn't handle it if they woman cheated or had somebody else. So I don't think a lot of guys could have. I don't think they're secure enough in themselves to be able to allow their woman to live that kind of lifestyle. I think it sounds like it would eliminate a lot of the conflicts that monogamous relationships have. It's hard. I mean, it's hard to think of a reason that y'all would break up.
Exactly.
So
I would never break up with my husband or any of my partners because I don't have to. In my view, breaking up means I have to leave you in the lurch so that I can love somebody else. And that, in my view, is very limiting. It's a very limiting way to live. I can love everybody I've always loved, from high school on, whatever.
So you've loved all the people that you've been with?
I really do. I people, I don't really have casual sex. I'm very vanilla sexually. I don't have like wild sexual rampages or something. I have sex with people I adore and I love and that I really care about. Like you understand? They're my friends, my sweethearts.
Well, see,
So
it's
anyway,
that's.
joining us,
I was gonna say from
is
a male
my second
perspective, that
husband,
seems.
Tiger. What did you say?
I was gonna say from a male perspective, it's hard to envision that. I can't imagine loving several people. Like I've only loved a handful of women. So that part of it is like, like to me, it would seem like if you were involved with somebody in the relationship, whether it ended or y'all weren't able to be involved for whatever reason, whether they had to move to another state or whatever, that would seem like it would hurt if somebody you loved was no longer available, right?
Well, yes, I've had that happen. One of my lovers lives in New York City. We were together and he met another woman and that woman didn't want him to be poly. So I had to embrace that. That doesn't mean I don't love him, but I don't have to hold on so tight because guess what? I can have anybody else I want. So I still love him. He got with the other lady, and it's fine. We still love each other, but we don't have to have sex.
Wow, I mean, it's really interesting to hear this perspective. Like I've never talked to. Like I said, that's one of the things I love about having a podcast or having my own platform. People send me questions about this kind of stuff. What do you think? And I just I'm like, man, it seemed like it would eliminate a lot of the problems monogamous relationships have, but I think it will require a higher level of trust, you know what I'm saying, in order to be able to maintain it. And
right.
It seems like you're confirming kind of my hypothesis about polyamorous relationships. It's interesting though. It's not like I thought. It seems like it's just like, oh, this wild free for all. You can just do whatever you want with no repercussions and no penalties and whatnot. But it's obviously a lot more complex and a lot more on a higher level than something that I guess you could expect that from some college students per se.
Right.
Well, as far as your clients go, what's the age range of your clients that you deal with?
Oh, typically 35 up to 55, because I deal with persons married 10 to 15 years or more. Because before that, I don't think you're really ready for polyamory if you're coming from a monogamous mindset to start with. I was not ready in the first 10 years to do this. I had to go through some things with my husband. I had to really bond with him. As you said, the trust has to be there, learning what trust means. I just was not ready. So we started opening at year 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this was...
And even some of the partners that I meet, they're not ready either. I have my second husband here, by the way, if you want to chat with him about a few things.
Oh.
But even... Oh, go ahead.
Well, I didn't even expect to say anything to a guy. What's your name, man? What's your husband's name?
Okay, here he is.
Hey, how's it going?
What's going on, man? It's interesting to hear about your lifestyle. So before this relationship, how long had you been polyamorous?
Well, I've never really described myself as polyamorous per se. I was always the guy that would hop in and out of relationship after relationship, dating one girl after another, breaking up with her so that I could get with the next girl. And so it wasn't until I got in this relationship that I actually started to see things a little bit differently. Okay. In the sense of you've got the freedom to be interested in more than one person, to develop a relationship with more than one person, but not fear losing the person that you're with. Because that was one of my huge things is, I don't want to be a cheater, because then there's all this hurt, there's all this regret, remorse, and there's not any of that. There's open dialogue, it's conversation. It's saying, I'm really interested in this person. Let's sit down. Let's talk about what that's going to look like if I do pursue a relationship. And that's the openness with that other person saying, I have a partner. I'm not necessarily going to lose my partner to gain a relationship with you, but I do want to develop a relationship with you if you're interested in that.
So do you
And then
find
give
a
them
lot
that
of
option.
women? I would never be a side chick. Do you get that? I mean, what's the response like when
Oh
you?
yeah, yeah. So if they come out, I'm not going to be anybody's side chick. You agree with them? Absolutely. You're not a side chick by any means. You are a partner of mine. You are in a relationship with me. You're not in a relationship with this person. You're not, going to be second to this person. You're an equal with this person. I love you just as much as I'm going to love her. But you've got to know that there is that other person that I have had a relationship with that I'm not going to just X out of my life because I want to develop something with you.
Okay, so do you get more rejection or more the women you approach open to it?
Oh, you automatically get rejection. The first time it happens, they can be like, "Oh man, you're a player. Get out of here." But they're like, "Man, that's a line. I've heard that before." But but they're gonna go home.
It
They're gonna
does
think
sound a
about,
little. It sounds a little too good to be true. From
yeah, 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 and it is in most cases. It's definitely that. You're gonna get a lot of people that can be like, "Man, I don't know. I'm not feeling that. I've never done that." But they're gonna go home and they're gonna think about it a little bit. And a week later, they might be like, "Look, tell me a little bit more about what you're talking about. It sounds a little interesting. If you get freedom, but do I get freedom?" Let me say, absolutely, you do. That's the beauty of it. It's not one sided. It's not that I'm gonna have a relationship with this person. You're just gonna be my side chick and not get to talk to anybody. If you find somebody out there, have that same conversation with me. You found somebody, you kind of dig on this person, you like to take things and develop a relationship with them. Yeah, absolutely. You're not getting ready to lose me because you want to develop a relationship. So we do need to sit down and have a conversation about what that looks like. When people hear polyamory, they automatically go to the sexual aspect of it. It's
Yeah,
automatically sex.
I just from the outside looking at it, you assume there's a tier, because
Yeah.
what's it called? My wife used to watch the show Big Love on HBO, where it was like sister wives. I forget,
Oh yeah, I've heard of sister wives.
I forget what the term was for the type of relationship. I forget exactly what it was called, but it was like the Amish people. Um, what's their situation? I can't think of it off the
It
top.
was Mormon people, and they practiced polygyny.
Okay. Uh,
Mhm.
well, yeah. See, but the wives weren't allowed to do anything with anybody on the outside. It was just the husband. Um,
Right.
so that was kind of interesting to see that on a mainstream platform like that, and to see how the intricacies of that work. So like, how do things like birthdays or Valentine's Day, like, does that create conflict between the having multiple relationships like that?
It can if there's no contract in place. So again, when we work with our clients, they determine how they want to spend those holidays. Me and my husband, my first husband, spend holidays like Christmas and Thanksgiving with our family because we have children and because we've been doing it for 24 years. Our secondary partners, like, did you care that we spent Christmas and Thanksgiving without you?
No, I had no problem with it. That gave me the freedom to, go out and do my own thing. If I want to see some of my family, I could do that. If I want to see another partner, I had the freedom to do that. So there was nothing saying I had to do anything just because I was with this person.
Right.
So you wasn't in your feelings over
Oh
questioning
no,
what you
no,
doing and when you coming home. Okay, let's see.
no, it's definitely nothing like that. No, with any of that, there is that contractual thing is saying, like we may do a birthday here, and you may do Christmas with that family.
Right.
We may switch it up next year.
Right. But you and I do my birthday together.
We do every year. We do the birthday thing. We go out of town somewhere. This past year, went to Mexico. The year before that was
San Juan.
Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
So we find things to do as a couple that don't involve the other partner. So we
Right.
still get that
Equal out. It equals out.
yeah.
That's what's up. That's really interesting. So we're looking like we're up against the clock. Before we can get out of here, can you let everybody know where they can find out more about your company and what you got going on?
Absolutely. On Instagram, I am Progressive Love Academy, or you can search my name, Kenya K. Stevens, on Instagram. Also, progressiveloveacademy.com is where you can find. We have 3,000 classes on how to do this stuff. If you want coaching with me, check my Instagram and just click on my link tree. You can always make a free session with me, and we can see where you are. All couples are not ready for polyamory, but I can tell you if you are or not.
All right. Well, I appreciate the insight. I'm pretty sure I'll get a lot of feedback from this episode. Those of y'all that are watching, I want to give a shout out to my man, Brother Soul Production, for the audio background music that y'all hear. Shout out to everybody that's been supporting the podcast. Make sure you subscribe and share the episode. It's been another episode of the More Than Love podcast. Thanks for tuning in.